I'm with Jamie Eyre from Embrace the Middle East. Now, Jamie, what is Embrace the Middle East?
So we're a Christian development charity. We work with around 50 local Christian-based partners across the Middle East, and we support them as they run their missions in healthcare, education and community development.
Now, you're from England and you just came here to Israel to go into Gaza. Is it easy to actually get into Gaza?
If you have a permit, everything is easy, but you have to get the permit in the first place. So we work with our local organisation to get a permit from the Israelis to enter into Gaza, and then work with our local partners inside Gaza to get a permit which allows us to travel inside there for 1 week.
And as an organisation, you support projects in Gaza. What projects do you support?
We work with the Near East Council of Churches, supporting their baby care programmes and prenatal care. So it's helping mums to deliver healthy babies and then making sure that those healthy babies grow into healthy young kids. We also work with the Al Ahly Arab Hospital, supporting their outreach programmes. And we've recently started supporting the Orthodox Scout Troop to help them build relationships with Muslim Scout troops and have cross-community activities.
Now, you've just recently been into Gaza just a few days ago. What was it like in there?
It was interesting to arrive. I've not been there for a couple of years, and I think the most obvious change was that when you get across the border, it's no longer Hamas on the front line, it's the PA. Sadly, that's the only change. I think all the talk of reconciliation and bringing together the PA or Fatah and Hamas hasn't really happened, and the only change is this kind of entry point. But we actually got welcomed really positively for the first time, so it's quite different. But I think my resounding feeling is one of depression. I talked to everybody, and all the people we spoke to, without exception, were talking about war. They're concerned about the future. They're concerned about war between Fatah and Hamas. They're concerned about war between Hamas and Israel. And I think there's a general feeling of despair.
Do they feel that war is coming very, very soon?
Nobody really knows. Everybody says they think it's coming, and I think when strange events happen, people start to question. The border with Egypt opened suddenly. Normally there's a couple of days' notice, and this time there wasn't. And people were starting to surmise that maybe the Egyptians knew something and they were trying to get their citizens out of the country. We don't really know.
Now, you support a hospital there in Gaza. What's the situation like for the hospital?
I mean, the situation for healthcare generally is really difficult. You've probably heard about the lack of electricity, only 4 hours of electricity at a time and 12 hours off. Some of the government hospitals have been closed because of a lack of electricity, and they just couldn't run. There's no fuel. Fortunately, the hospital that we work with are able to keep going because they've got solar cells and they've got generators that are paid for by donors like Embrace. But it's tough, and there's a huge demand. A lot of people need support, and many of them can't pay for it.
And how does the hospital care for the community, and what does it offer?
So I'll talk about the work that we do with them. We support them to do outreach work. There are many people who live on the margins of Gaza who don't get access to healthcare because they don't go looking for it, and they think they can't afford it. So the Al Ahly Hospital works with 30 community-based organisations, that's local Muslim charities and others, and reaches out to find the most marginalised and vulnerable people and to bring them into the hospital. One great story was of a lady called Mona who we heard about. She had an abdominal problem. She hadn't been for treatment. Through this programme, the CBO found her. She was brought into the hospital. She was treated for the abdominal pain. And while she's sitting there in the waiting room, they also did some health education. So she was told how to do breast cancer exams. She found she had a lump, and she was then able to be fed into a programme for breast cancer care, and she's now fit and well, which is remarkable.
Are the hospital services vital to the community there?
Absolutely. I think many of the people like Mona, wouldn't get services without the care that Al Ahly bring.
Is there a Christian community in Gaza?
Very small. We did a survey with the Gaza YMCA a couple of years ago, and we reckon there were about 1,300 Christians at that time. But every time there is a Christian holiday, people will get the permits to leave, and many people don't come back. We heard of 20 people who left at Christmas and didn't return. So the community is getting smaller and smaller.
So are they going into the West Bank instead rather than going back to Gaza?
Some are going into the West Bank, and others are going to join family across the world. Palestinians are very good at making a life for themselves elsewhere, and you find many people are going to Canada, to the States, and even to the UK and Europe.
Do they feel isolated?
Absolutely. You talk to Gazans and they will say that it's like one of the world's biggest open prisons. Yes, there's freedom inside Gaza, but you can't get out. And if you're a young man, getting a visa is very, very difficult. So I think people feel there is no hope.
If you have something like a life-threatening illness, is that difficult in Gaza because of the way the hospitals are run?
I think it's difficult because the sort of treatment that we expect in the West isn't readily available. There is good treatment and there are some great healthcare provision and facilities, but it's not available all the time and it's not available for everyone. So it can be very difficult.
Now, you also support the Near East Council of Churches Mother and Child Clinic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we work with, I think there's 3 clinics that NECC work with across Gaza. And we support a number of different things. We support preconception care, so it's helping mothers or women who are planning to become pregnant to make sure they've got the right kind of input at the beginning. So folic acid makes such a difference. Things that we take for granted at home. We support them through pregnancy, or they support them through pregnancy, and then support young children as they grow to make sure they don't suffer with anemia or other deficiencies and they can be as healthy as possible.
Are the doctors and nurses doing a tremendous job under really difficult circumstances?
Absolutely. I've worked for health NGOs and charities over many years, and I'm really impressed with the quality of care from NECC. They are an international class organisation.
And what other work do you get involved with outside of Gaza?
We support a range of different activities. We work with the Secretariat of Solidarity in school programmes and bursaries, providing bursaries for kids from poor families to keep them into good schools. We support some really interesting work up in Eyre, which is helping girls who come from really difficult homes, helping them stay in school, helping them with their homework. Similarly, we also work with the Palestinian Bible Society, who run a great centre in Jericho. And that's, again, working with kids who come from really tough backgrounds and also with their mothers, providing them a safe place to go and an opportunity to play and to learn and to spend some time together in a really safe environment.
And you've been getting involved in tree planting, have you?
Yeah, so we have a good relationship with the East Jerusalem YMCA, and each year we give our supporters the opportunity to buy olive trees to be planted in areas where either trees have been uprooted or land needs to be sort of tilled and managed by Palestinian farmers. So I think this year something like 2,000 trees will be planted because of Embrace supporters.
Do you feel that you're making a difference here in the Holy Land?
Absolutely. I think I'm always impressed at the difference that small local Christian organisations can make, kind of a really peaceful, positive input into society, and I think Embrace is part of that.
We've talked mainly about the Palestinian side. Do you have contacts on the Israeli side as well?
Yeah, so we work with a fantastic Messianic Jewish organisation called Aviva Ministries in Tel Aviv. They do a great work with drug addicts and people who are, prostitutes, to be honest. It's people who are really at the bottom end of society and really struggling. They provide a place for them to wash, to get clean physically, but also to try and help them get clean of drugs. And it's a really difficult but very important bit of work.
Have you actually seen this on the streets of Tel Aviv?
Yeah, if you hang around the old bus station, you'll see things that you would not believe. People who really are hanging on to the edges of life. And the team there are just amazing in reaching out to people in really, really tough situations and helping them get back onto the ladder and hopefully bringing them through to a nice, clean, positive life.
What's your prayer, particularly for Gaza?
I think for Gaza, I want to pray for peace and for hope. I want the people to feel like they've got a future. They want to see the border opened again. They want to have the freedom to travel, to meet their family and friends and get out of the place and go back again. But also to pray for peace. We need to see the ruling factions there work well together, and we want to see peace between Palestinians and Israelis.
You're from the UK. Why do you care about the Middle East?
Embrace has got a passion to see God's kingdom come. We want to work with the Christian community of the Middle East. People often forget that Christianity came from this part of the world. I mean, that sounds obvious, but we forget how many local Christians there are, and we have an opportunity as the church in the West to help them. So it's really important.
What's your website, finally, for people who'd like to know more about your work?
www.embraceme.org.
Okay, Jamie, thank you very much.
Thank you.